Welcome to Local Edition. Brad Pomerance here in San Diego County, joined by Lorena Gonzalez. She is a member of the California State Assembly. Pretty good year for the Assemblywoman. Had 13 bills signed. 2 specifically were not, and they were vetoed, and
Yes.
I want to speak with you about them. And they dealt with diapers, baby diapers. Tell us about the 2 bills, and then we'll talk about the vetoes.
Right. Well, both bills were aimed in different directions at the fact that we have this unmet diaper need that we don't talk about a lot. One of every 3 families in the United States experiences a lack of diapers in the quantity that they need them. You know, often families are young and diapers are expensive. So we did 2 bills this year and actually last year as well. One was to eliminate the taxes on diapers.
Sales tax.
Sales tax.
Truly sales tax.
Exactly. And the reason that's so important is it really helps both poor families, middle class families, and in California, that's a majority of the people having children, quite frankly.
Right.
It comes out to about $100 a year.
Okay.
Yeah, so
In sales tax.
in sales tax
Got it.
alone, that's
Got
how
it.
expensive diapers are. So it really relieves a family of about a month's supply of diapers. And so we thought that would be one way at helping relieve some of the
Think
burden.
about that. That's for real.
That's
for a family that's struggling to make ends meet. A month's worth of diapers is
It's
a
a lot.
significant
Yeah, and
amount.
considering in California, 50% of our children are born under Medi-Cal. So we know that, you know, already half of the children being born in California are being born into poverty. And then a large number of folks, even if you're middle class or working class, you know, you're struggling at that time. You're usually younger, you're starting your family and trying to get everything working, childcare on top of working other children possibly. So we thought that would be a good way to help relieve.
And there was another bill as well, and that dealt with families that are eligible under CalWorks. What would that bill have done?
Well, we had a bill that would offer $50 in vouchers to families, only women who, well, could be men, but mainly women who had a child who they were on CalWorks, but they had that child in subsidized childcare. So that means they're either working, going back to school, or getting trained for a job, because that's what you need to do to qualify for subsidized childcare. And the reason we kind of tied it to that is we wanted to take away this barrier to work. In order to put your kid in childcare, and a lot of people don't think about this, you have to show up with 8 to 10 diapers. So CalWorks gives you a stipend, and it's barely enough to live on.
Right.
You can't use food stamps to buy diapers. You can't use WIC to buy diapers. So this would just kind of relieve that last barrier for those women who are doing everything right, trying to get back on their feet and off welfare, so that they wouldn't have, they wouldn't show up. And we heard stories about this. Women who would show up, they finally got that job, they're excited, they have childcare, they show up with their kid, and they didn't realize they needed to bring 8 to 10 diapers, and that's a lot of money.
Right.
You know, when you're strapped that much. So we wanted to try to help transition people off welfare, and that one got vetoed too.
Right, but in addition to these 2 bills that got vetoed, there was the omnipresent tampon tax, which got a lot of heat. There was a lot of news surrounding it, national news. And so there was a general view that with the tampon tax, eliminating the sales tax on tampons, because it got so much heat, that maybe the diaper tax and the tampon tax would get signed.
Right.
Didn't happen.
It didn't happen. You know, this governor is very clear that this has to go into the budget. We try to get ours into the budget, the diaper issues, but they really are. They've been kind of lumped together, and some states are actually dealing with them together. In fact, Washington D.C. just removed the tax on both items. They're necessities. It makes sense.
Right.
But we're talking about almost 2 different things. The tampon tax really is a small amount, but it's about equity, and it's about how women are treated differently. You know, there's no comparable for men, quite frankly. So that's almost just you know, we're women, we shouldn't be charged for being women. The diaper tax is an actual amount that matters.
And it's a family issue.
So it's a family issue. So sometimes they're grouped together. The governor very definitely has said, hey, you know,
so let's dig
zero
deep.
it out.
Yeah, let's dig deep into this, because when you consider the budget that was passed this past year, over $170 billion in spending. The diaper tax, the CalWorks bill, $35 million, $50 million. I mean, cents.
Right.
When you consider $170+ billion. So help us understand why, with such a minuscule amount, these bills aren't getting signed.
So it's often that the governor just will push back at the legislature, as he probably should, that if it's a priority for us, we should go ahead and put into the budget.
Right.
And right now, you know, we did a lot this year. I not excusing the governor's actions, but you know, the diaper kind of subsidy actually went to conference committee with the governor, and the governor's office said absolutely not. So it was kind of funny then to get a veto that says you should put it in the budget.
Okay.
So we're going to try again this year,
right.
though.
But then let's talk that through, because look, you tried to do what he requested with a financial hit of not a lot.
Not a lot.
I mean, you know, I know 35 billion sounds like a lot, but out of 170 plus billion, then what? I mean,
and we actually try to phase it in this year at 15 million into the budget. And our reasoning for doing that is we had hit roadblocks with the administration. Sometimes you just have to go from all angles. You know, if you present a bill, get it to his desk, get vetoed, at least it gets some attention. And we wanted people to understand this issue of diapers. We knew it was kind of new. People hadn't thought about it a lot. People don't like to talk about why they don't change their kids when their kids are dirty. People don't like to talk about, you know, going 3 days at the end of the month with no diapers and having to stay inside with your child because there's nothing you can do. People don't like to have those discussions. So we needed to talk about it. So we presented in the budget, kind of got it pulled out with a promise, though, that the agencies will work on it with us in the future. So we should get a report about February, and we'll have another pitch at it this year in the budget.
So let's look forward as we look at the budget for next year. We did see Proposition 55 pass, which extended the tax on the wealthiest as part of Prop 30. But Prop 30 sales tax is expiring, and that's a hit. The economy is arguably improving, but I get the same reports you do from the controller and the treasurer, and revenues seem to be above or below expectations, but kind of flat, I guess. Is that fair, Assemblywoman?
I think that's a fair assessment. What we actually now have to grapple with is what's going to happen with the federal government, quite frankly. So a lot of what California may do in next year's budget, are we going to preserve our expansion of Medi-Cal, whether or not we get funding from the federal government? Are we going to expand or continue the Covered California?
And let me ask you,
these are all up for grabs, you know.
Yeah, look, there's no question that the Medi-Cal expansion is very reliant on the federal government. They're paying, I think, 100%, or now maybe it's down to 95%.
I think it's down, but yes.
But if that goes away, that's a challenge. But Covered California, I mean, can that survive as a standalone without federal support? I know it's so early, but what's your sense?
You know, I think we have to look at it. Obviously, if the government stops subsidizing, you know, kind of insurance, we have to figure out what to do. And maybe it's a chance to look back at universal health care for California. I mean, this is not, you know, I look at it like both, it's a challenge but an opportunity. Kind of Obamacare is great. It's the law of the land right now. We think it's okay, but we wanted more.
But
so maybe it's time to look at California, its own aspect, and actually do something a little different.
But what's tricky is that while Obamacare took some hits over the last few months as it relates to premiums, et cetera, most would argue that Obamacare has been pretty darn successful, at least in California.
Oh, definitely.
And so here we have the largest state in the union with millions now being covered, and yet we're kind of a victim to what happens in D.C.
And we're being told that it's going to take, even if they try to unravel it, it's tied to the budget. It'll take a couple years to actually unravel. And so we won't know the direct hits, but we're going to have to monitor that in the budget. We also have the situation by which we've passed all these immigration laws that could cost us federal funding now.
You need to come back and talk about these, because there are so many issues. Her name is Lorena Gonzalez. She is a member of the California State Assembly representing significant portions of San Diego County, where we are today. I'm Brad Pomerance, Local Edition.